Welcome back. All right, time to discuss the Seattle Kraken as I go through my season previews. This is the 12th team I've previewed so far, so we just have 20 more to go. 10 more days and then they're done. So starting with their top six. And this is a team that last season, goals for, they were right around middle of the league. They're going to be looking to get better with that this season, although goals against were a little more alarming, and we'll get to that when we get there. But looking at their top six, there are some interesting options here. I think the top nine is more indicative of where Seattle's at, because I think there's a lot of mixing, matching going on. I don't think there's going to be lines set in stone for the Seattle Kraken, especially with new coach Lane Lambert in charge. He may very well experiment to see what's going to work and what isn't. But looking at the likely top six, and I just kept things the way Puckpedia has them listed. Jaden Schwartz, good veteran player. You know what you're getting from him. Believe he's in the final year of his contract. Matty Beniers. Beniers is expected to reach that next level as a forward, which he has not as of yet. And then you've got Kakko. And I have Kakko listed as the one to watch because there's some pressure on Kakko this year. I absolutely think there is. After the trade from New York, he played well. I still think Kakko has a next gear to reach. And if he doesn't, he could get passed by other players on this depth chart. McCann, who has been rumored in potential Rossi trade dealings if Rossi gets traded. I don't think he will. A couple articles I was looking at today, a lot of their information was from middle of July, early August, and it feels like now there's some definite momentum to getting him signed by Minnesota. So McCann probably stays here. I don't redo season previews. I get that every now and then where a move will get made after I've done a season preview. I'm not redoing an entire video for one trade. But Chandler Stevenson in that top six, does he stay there? Well, Shane Wright is due for a bit of a breakthrough as well, isn't he? And if Shane Wright does, he may push Stevenson down to third line. And then there's veteran Jordan Eberle. Now, looking at that bottom six, Marchment has enough scoring to have top six potential, right? The aforementioned Shane Wright. Ellie Tolvanen, if he can get hot out of the gate, who knows how much ice time he might earn. He is, I think, a little bit on the hot seat just because there's a lot of forwards here. And you could see somebody getting offered up if Seattle gets off to a slow start. You got Cartier, who has a ton of potential, I think, for more. He's got to get more ice time, though. Freddie Gaudreau was a solid addition by Seattle in the offseason. I really like that one a lot. I don't expect him to score as many goals for Seattle as he did this past season for Minnesota, but he doesn't really need to. And then you've got Newman, which would round things out. But Hayden, Stevens, Winterton, Myers, these are all players that we know can come up and play. Melanson, McCormick, Chalet has been biding his time with the Firebirds. Rode as well. Morrison, Furcus, Goyette, and Robertson rounding out the depth up front. So there's some depth here. This is a team that their AHL affiliate has been pretty darn good throughout their 4 years. So I would think the expectation will be another strong season for Coachella Valley for the Firebirds. And I think they've got the offensive depth here to make that happen. Now, on the blue line side of things, Vince Dunn, who I think if this team is going to get back into the playoffs for the first time in 3 years, for that to happen, Vince Dunn has to stay healthy and he has to get his goal scoring up to around the 20-goal mark, I would think. And there's other good offensively minded defensemen on this blue line. So this is a blue line that might be underrated a little bit by some. You have Dunn, you have Larson. Larson's played some of his best hockey with Seattle. You have Lindgren. It was a good addition, I think, as long as they don't overplay him. That's the one concern I would have, is if you overplay Lindgren at this point in time in his career, that's where some of the cracks show up in his game. Montour had a very good first season in Seattle. Alexiak and Evans round things out. Alexiak, he's in a he's in a contract year. Maybe he has a career year because it's a contract year. Maybe he does. But Alexiak and Evans, likely that bottom pairing, but Riker Evans, there's some offensive upside there too. I could see him getting into the 40-point range soon. I don't know if it'll be this year or not. And then the extras on the blue line, Josh Mahura, Cale Fleury, Ottavainen, Nelson, Price, and Jugnoth as well. So for Seattle, it feels like on the blue line side of things, they don't quite have the same level of depth that they do with their forwards, but still some good depth nonetheless. Now, when we get to goaltending, there is a question mark here. So you have Decord. He's the starter. Had a great season this past year. He's looking to follow that up with another one because he wants to be in that top 20 goaltenders list the next time I do one. But Philip Grubauer, there are legitimate concerns about Grubauer as the backup. Now, Seattle didn't buy him out. They've decided to give him another year, and they're trying to bring him back. But Matt Murray was signed out of Toronto. And Matt Murray, we know, can play at the NHL level. He has had a very hard time with injuries. He's not the same goaltender he was back in 2017, but he does have NHL experience. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. They also have Ostman and Kakko in terms of their goaltending depth. And yes, Kakko in net and Kakko up front. What's not to like? So hopefully at some point in time, those two are on the ice at the same point. But the goaltending will be interesting because Decord is pretty genuinely believed at this point, but anybody else behind him, you're going to have a question mark. And if Seattle's going to get back to the playoffs, you can't be playing Decord 60-plus games. So you need Grubauer to have a bounce-back year, or if he's not able to do so, you may have to call up Matt Murray from the minors. So I talked about the MVP and the one to watch. We move on to the cap space side of things. They have $4,599,287 in cap space. And I think the very team-friendly deal that Riker Evans took, I think this helps. I think this is a situation now where Seattle could potentially add before the season starts. So I understand why Seattle's name would come up a lot in terms of the Marco Rossi situation, because they do look like a team that could use that second-line center boost if Rossi was going to come in and play center. But we'll see what happens. Now, looking at the schedule, they have 6 out of 10 away from home in October. So that's 6 away from home, 4 at home. And then in November, 8 of 14 are at home. So they have 24 games through the first 2 months of the season. Not as busy as some of the other teams. And then in December, 7 out of 13 are at home. So only 13 in December. That's only 20 or 37 games by the 1st of January. But boy, is January brutal. I recounted this 3 times. They have 9 out of 17 games in January at home. 17 games in a month. So that's where the Olympic break really bites you, is that it's an extra game or two here and there. And it's going to be brutal for some of these teams this year. That's a tough one. So even though they have more games at home than on the road, the number I focus on there is 17. 17 games in a month. February, they play 4 out of 5 on the road. In March, 7 out of 14 are at home. And in April, 5 out of 9 are at home. So, yeah, if Seattle can come through January with a good record, that's nothing short of a miracle. Now, the channel vote is not overly optimistic with Seattle. I get it. 2% say first or second. 10% say third or fourth, meaning only 12% of the vote went for a top 4 spot. 59% said 5th or 6th, and 30% said 7th or 8th. So that makes it interesting for me. I do think that with what Seattle has here, if the goaltending can get it together, if Grubauer has a bounce back, and if the blue line plays as well as I think it could, I think they're going to surprise some people. And even though the Pacific is getting better, there's still an opening there for a team like Seattle to maybe jump in and grab themselves a spot. That being said, since they came into the league, they've been 25th in the standings, record of 142 wins, 153 regulation losses, and 33 losses in extra time. Their scoring leaders over this time period: McCann, 315 games, 118 goals, 125 assists. So that is 243 points. Vince Dunn is second on the list, 275 games, 43 goals, 141 assists, 184 points. Eberle, 281 games, 67 goals, 110 assists for 177 points. And the recently departed Yanni Gourde, who's back in Tampa now, 271 games, 52 goals, 94 assists, 146 points. My expectation is the next time that we talk about them, and that'll be next fall, next summer as we're looking to the fall, I would expect that Wright's pushed himself up into one of their top scoring spots over the last 5 years. Their top prospects, Berkeley Catton, Jake O'Brien, Carson Rakoff. All of these are prospects who could very well get an NHL job soon. Berkeley Catton, probably the closest of the 3, but as of yet, still not in that part of the board. And when Catton and O'Brien are both ready, it will be interesting to see what that does for Seattle's lineup. Now, looking at this year, they went 35, 41, and 6 this past season. Their top 5 scorers in 2024-2025. McCann leads the way, to the surprise of no one. 82 games, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. Bit of a drop-off for McCann, absolutely. We'll see if McCann can get his points totals up a little bit. Chandler Stevenson, 78 games, 13 goals, 38 assists, 51 points. Jaden Schwartz, 81 games, 26 goals, 23 assists for 49 points. Shane Wright, 79 games, 19 goals, 25 assists for 44 points. And Beniers, 82 games, 20 goals, 23 assists, 43 points. So the expectation, I would think, for Seattle this year should be that both Wright and Beniers could add, I would think, 20 points. I would think a 20-point addition could happen. Wright could get to 64 points. That would put Beniers at 63. So I could absolutely see that taking place, and that could really help Seattle get some more wins, end up on the right side of 500 this coming season. The goaltending is a tale of one goaltender and everybody else. Decord went 27, 23, and 5 with a .906 save percentage. Grubauer, rough year. 8, 17, and 1 with an .875 save percentage. So if they had had better goaltending from their backup, we might be talking about something completely different. Maybe they would have been a lot closer to the playoffs. Ostman just made an appearance, did not allow a goal there. Stezka went 0-1 with an .870 save percentage, and Kakko was in one game, did not end up factoring into the decision, and had a .667 save percentage in that appearance. Now, as I previously mentioned, there's 5 playoffs on the board. There's only 4 seasons that they've been in. So they did not qualify in 2022, 2024, or 2025 for the playoffs. The one year they did make it in 2023, they famously defeated the defending champion Colorado Avalanche in the first round before pushing Dallas to 7 and then losing against Dallas there. So looking at their numbers from this season as well, their power play was 23rd at 18.9%. They're going to want that to improve. Their penalty kill was 21st at 77.2%. So special teams were an issue for Seattle this past season. They were 16th in the National Hockey League with 2.99 goals scored per game. They were 24th in goals against with 3.2 goals against per game. They did keep themselves in the running for a long stretch of the season, and then they tailed off late in the season. But the Seattle Kraken are still seen as a team that's probably going to be good, but playoff good, probably not. And so that's that area that a team can get into where they're not bad enough to be drafting in the top 3 or top 4, but they're also not good enough to really push for a playoff spot. We'll see if Seattle's in that position again this year. It could happen. I mean, it's always possible. So I hope it doesn't, to be honest. Although if it comes down to them or the Canucks, I as a Canuck fan have to say, well, I'd rather the Canucks get in the playoffs. But if Seattle were going to get in the playoffs this year, I think that could be fun, especially since it'd only be their second try. And I'd be rooting for a Seattle-Vegas first-round matchup because I think that could be a lot of fun if that were to take place. The 2 most recent expansion teams in the National Hockey League locking up. I don't consider Utah to be technically an expansion team, even though technically they are. So, at any rate, I'd be interested to know your thoughts. What do you think Seattle's going to be able to get done this season? How many extra points do you think they can get above the 76 they had this past season? I think 86 is reasonable. I think they could hit 86, especially if Grubauer has some sort of a bounce back in net. But that's going to be a big storyline right there as the backup goaltending. So let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.